I know you couldn't hear me. What if I didn't want you to hear me? Ever think about that? Do you think you're so important? Do you think you're so important that you need to hear me all the time? Do you think you're that important? I did not want you to hear me. I am too cool for school. Here we go. End message. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. God bless America.
Oh, I was listening to your show. I just was I'm gonna chirp in. That's all.
Oh, he's gonna chirp in. That's
I
really
was
cute.
listening to your show.
That's so cute. He's gonna chip in. He's gonna chirp in. He's gonna chirp in. That's a really cute way to say that. This is beautiful. Oh my god. Oh crap. Okay. Oh my god, dude. The world is a... Let me just fix this title really quick. Shut up, Cam. You're getting blocked. I won't be on tomorrow or Saturday. Okay, I will be busy tomorrow and Saturday. So I want to record some videos on a couple things. I will be taking a break, Cam. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Thank you for telling me to take a break. Thank you for understanding and appreciating my dark thoughts I have every single night. Okay. Man, this is good. I make noises all the time, by the way. So making noises is not a sign that I'm in pain. It's just a sign that I'm alive, really. Do you guys have a favorite water brand? Do you think that water brand quality matters? I know people don't like Dasani, whatever water brand that is. I can't really tell. Oh look, Canada. Donald Trump wants Canada, and guess what? Canada wants Donald Trump too.
Canada, the 51st state, and a group in Alberta is apparently on board. Jeffrey Rath is leading that group, a lawyer from Alberta. He has that delegation behind him. Jeff, how big is your delegation? Tell me the feeling.
Yo, Jeff, how big is that delegation? How big is the D?
You are for joining America?
Hundreds of Albertans that are reaching out and volunteering to join.
Bro, there's hundreds of Albertans. Okay, I think there's like how many million people in Alberta? In Alberta, there's almost 5 million people in Alberta. So out of those 5 million, there's 5 million people. Okay, there's 5 million people in Alberta, Canada, and there's a few hundred that want to separate.
Join our delegation. Right now, our group is very small. We're it's a steering committee of people that are looking to come to Washington
a steering committee
on an
off a
exploratory
cliff
basis and meet with a representative appointed by President Trump to explore the benefits of either Alberta becoming an independent sovereign nation with economic union to the United States, becoming a U.S. territory, or becoming or pursuing full statehood.
Well, how is
those
Canada,
are our goals.
God, how has Canada lost their way? How is...
By the way, if U.S. states could be Canadian, I guarantee you we'd lose Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Minnesota. We would lose Oregon. We would lose a lot of countries. I almost said Canada and China. California, basically all the 3 same things right there. California, Canada, China, same thing. California, we'd lose so many states to Canada. Do you know how many people would want free healthcare, bro? Free healthcare. Canada has like the 4th highest quality of living in the entire world. Canada's a great place to live. People are happy there. People live on average 7 years longer than U.S. citizens. By all metrics, Canada is a better place to live than America. If they want to come to America, dude, have fun, but you have to allow Maine to become part of Canada. You have to allow it both ways, you know?
Has Canada lost their way that makes you think you got to join us?
Trudeau and Carney, are all wringing their hands over tariffs, they're going to be kicking Albertans in the teeth and bringing in a 21% carbon tax increase in April. This is, the carbon tax itself is just an insult to hardworking Albertans that can't afford to heat their homes and can't afford diesel and gas for their cars and trucks to go to work. That's a big part of why it is that people in Alberta are fed up with being governed, by idiotic politicians from.
I mean, you should be taxing rich people more for sure. I don't want to tax. I don't want to put the tax burden on poor people. I would like to see how their carbon tax works, but I'm sure it's not going to go directly to people. And if so, the wildfires, all the bad shit that's going to happen from climate change, I guarantee you, Americans and all people are going to be like, whoa, why did no one tell us this is going to happen? And, at that point, it's going to be too late to reverse anything. But a minor tax now that makes you, not drink as much alcohol and gamble or whatever it might be. Maybe you are struggling economically, but we should tax the rich more to make up for it. But you're trying to disencourage pollution in general. You could do tax credits. You could do cap and trade, where you cap the amount of carbon you could emit. And if you emit less carbon, you can sell carbon credits to other people. So you have an actual way to make money. Free market forces make money from being good when it comes to carbon and pollution. But yeah, it's really just stupid. It's a minor inconvenience that pays huge dividends in the future, but the big whiny adult babies we have nowadays would never be, they would never be able to make an investment on the future of humanity or even the future of their own families. Everything's about me, right now, me, right now. I cannot invest in anyone else.
Back in Ontario that do not understand our province and do not understand that culturally we're far more closely affiliated with our friends to the south in Montana than we are with all of the people in Ottawa wringing their hands over the smell of diesel exhaust when people from Alberta come to protest how badly we're being treated by Ottawa.
What's your message to Donald Trump? 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Greenland
I love you, Daddy.
Self-determination. Please support
Greenland.
Alberta's
Nice.
Self-determination. You promised that to Alberta in the same way you promised it to Greenland. We'll be an excellent partner to the United States and we'll all prosper.
All right, let's see how big your delegation gets, Jeff, how many calls you get, and maybe, Jeff, you will be governor of our 50th
Maybe you'll be governor.
state when it's all said and done.
This stuff is nice, bro. Not surprising, but I'm pretty sure Alberta is by far the most white. What are they called? Provinces? Or what are they called in Canada? Provinces? What are the different areas called? Someone help me. There's Alberta. What is... I don't know Canadian politics. What is Alberta? Is that like US states, but they call it like provinces or something? Yeah, it's a province. Province. It's a province. But this is one of those big scenarios where people benefit from systems they don't understand. They want to blow it all up, and I don't know, bro. It's a cult. Yeah, I can't make any actual judgments off people that say these things. Please save me, Trump. Please. Please. We love it. We love the way. Love the way you lie. I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like. And right now, there's still a knife in my windpipe. Still a knife in my windpipe. I can't breathe, but I still fight. What day is it? Thursday? It is Thursday. It's syrup day. Oh, this is a good Donald Trump quote. I love this one, by the way. We could talk about this really quick. I think not knowing history is a really big way to disrespect our troops, and Trump does that all the time, including right here.
And the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble...
The biggest problem with NATO. They're friends of mine. I know them very well.
But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem. France, we got a problem. A couple of others I won't mention. Do you think
he definitely cannot name the NATO countries? He thinks they're his friends.
they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure. With Japan, we have a deal, which is...
Now, think about being such a little pampered baby boy, where you don't know the history. The U.S. is the only country to invoke Article 5 in NATO, where other countries come and your allies come to help you defend yourself or in other war efforts for freedom. And after 9/11, thousands of our allies' soldiers paid the ultimate price, okay? America is the only country to call upon NATO to come help us defend ourselves or to spread freedom in, like, the Middle East. Many soldiers, thousands of soldiers, like I said, died defending us. The ultimate price, Donald Trump does not care about that because Donald Trump's a little man baby and he doesn't know the history of anything. And he's talking like a diva here, like, would they come save us? I don't think so. Like, everything he says is an emotional 12-year-old girl being sassy to her mom. Or boy, whatever, dude. Both babies, okay? 12-year-olds in general, kids in general, immature dumbasses in general say shit like this. And yeah, the confidence in which he says the dumbest shit in the world and people believe it. I can't imagine being like I don't know, in the military and being okay with him just disrespecting soldiers left and right because he's your daddy and he gives you all directives and orders. It just seems like a really pathetic place to be in as a person. I don't know. I don't know, though. What do I know? Maybe the U.S. Constitution, when you swear an oath to it, it actually says, suck up to whatever man you find the most homoerotic connection with, and that's what they follow. I don't really know. Yeah, pretty shitty thing to say. For real, for real. Oh yeah, community notes. Factual error and missing context. Well, Trump doesn't know anything about anything. NATO's Article 5 on collective defense has been invoked once in the alliance's history by the United States in response to 9/11. At the time, NATO had 18 members, all which supported the U.S. and Afghanistan with their militaries. So not only is the U.S. the only country to invoke Article 5, but we brought them to Afghanistan, bro. We brought them to Afghanistan, of all places. Right here, I often hear from liberals that we cannot get too populist in our rhetoric. Populism says we need to tear the system down, blame the elite cabals for everything, and start a revolution. You don't need to be a populist in this day and age to say what the problem actually is. And the problem, in general, in any system, is too much power in one place. And in America right now, the big issue is wealth being concentrated into one place. So if wealth is concentrated and wealth has too much power, they can take over the government with wealth. And they can start to take away programs that benefit working people. And Chris Murphy does a great job displaying how you can still be a liberal, care about the institutions, and be reformist rather than revolutionary.
Billionaires do not need public schools. Billionaires don't understand the magic that happens in public schools. The billionaires that are in charge of our government right now send their kids to the most elite private schools, and if every public school disappears in this country, they will still be able to get their kids.
And they send their kids to Ivy League schools and colleges, and they convince working people to not send their kids to college ever. And I think we should support trade schools and other forms of employment as well, definitely. But it's really funny that the rich are convincing everyone to just like give up when it comes to having any power in the system. And I heard people talk about education and talk about teachers, and the perception they tell their supporters to have, and that matters because if Trump says something, they all jump and follow whatever Trump says. I often hear people say, well, teachers don't really teach. They don't care about the kids. Teachers are not teachers for fun. They don't want to care for your little brats. For all of these hours, they need to deal with your dumbass kid. They have to raise your kid for you, essentially, giving them daycare and teaching them at the same time. Having 30 people's kids in the same classroom. Teachers don't want that job for fun or to make money or to profit. Like these crypto oligarch dumb mother truckers, not anything bad. These truckers want to say, these dumbasses, they're not truckers either. They're bad people. They're just bad, dude. They're bad. They want to convince you that your fellow working people are against you. Okay, they want to convince you your fellow working people are against you. But teachers that I know, teachers in most public schools have to buy their kids materials. They have to buy their kids pens and binders and papers and help fund different programs for the kids that the school district or funding does not cover. Teachers are great people. By far, the vast majority, 99.9% of public school teachers do an amazing job. We should support them. We should not be demonizing them just because your billionaire daddies tell you to.
Kids and education. And it's consistent with the entire way that they are approaching the first 6 months of this administration. Billionaires don't need Medicaid. So to them, it doesn't matter if Medicaid disappears and rural hospitals close and addiction treatment centers shutter their doors, because the billion.
Yeah, if you live in a rural area, if they kill Medicaid, that funds hospitals. That funds hospitals, especially in rural areas where there's a lot less people, a lot less money. Medicaid is a huge stimulus to the economy. It gives poor kids a chance to rise up in the system to achieve the American dream. You're really cutting aid and Medicaid from people who need it the most, including myself growing up. I would have been screwed without programs like Medicaid. It's a big deal if you care about the American dream. You should not be cutting Medicaid to give tax cuts to the ultra wealthy billionaires. It's a really dumb thing to do. I know a lot of Republicans who are on Medicaid, and they think they're just going to cut Medicaid for the non-white people, or the DEI people they're going to cut Medicaid for, or the waste, fraud, and abuse. No, bro, they're coming to cut it for you as well. And you can message on that. You can be very frank about it. They want to kill Medicare to give themselves more money, to give rich people more money, because rich people control the system. Your daddy, Donald Trump, if you want to say politicians are all corrupt, it's really funny that Trump supporters always tell me politicians are corrupt. Politicians are bought out. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has the most lobbyists and big bank talking heads and Dick Cheney advisors in his administration. He has the most amount of these people, more than any other administration in American history. But to Trump supporters, every politician's corrupt except their big daddy.
Billionaires will still get their health care. They talk about Social Security being a Ponzi scheme. They're shutting down Social Security offices around the country because they don't need Social Security. They're billionaires. They're never going to need a Social Security check like millions of American seniors do in order to put food on the table. So the billionaire mindset is just different than ordinary average Americans. And that's why to them, public education doesn't matter. But to Senator Schumer's point.
Yeah, but they convinced America that public education means they're going to turn your kid trans. So now they don't support it for that reason. So it's really hard uphill battle because of their propaganda networks.
Here's the other reason why. All that matters right now is the billionaire and corporate tax cut. All that matters is hoarding as much money, stealing as much money from middle class and poor families in this country so that they can pass that money along to the billionaires, the millionaires, and the corporations. Everything that they are doing is about making sure that they shrink the parts of government that help regular people so that they can pass along more benefit and more help to their billionaire friends.
True. Yeah, and the classic storylines of using the historical storyline of using social issues to divide the working class so you can steal from them, and the working class falls into it easily. If you're watching, please drop a like and comment on the stream. If you really want to call in, you can, as I'm making a little shortcut, little clip videos, whatever it's called. Whatever it's called, you can call in, but drop a like on the stream for the algorithm to help the other stream get shared. Thank you for joining me. Looking through some news clips, recording some YouTube videos. I'll be off the next 2 nights. Yeah, so here's another big thing. Another exercise on populism, okay? Candace Owens is making a big comeback, okay? So she shares a lot of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, but she packages it in a really good way. And now she's been on different podcasts. That Ian Carroll guy was on Joe Rogan, who also shares a lot of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Of course, they're anti-Israel, not for good reasons, but because they are anti-Semitic, and they package it in a way that seems sympathetic for Palestinians, although they don't really care about Palestinians. But there's been a big media push. Andrew Tate is blaming all of his problems. The sex trafficker, he's blaming his problems on George Soros and the Jews as well. But now in mainstream media, these actual modern day neo-Nazis are going on these platforms. Theo Von, Joe Rogan. She was on Stephen A. Smith, Candace Owens was. And I'm going to go through how the populist conspiracy theories actually share, how they share their conspiracy theories in a way that can spread.
I'm kind of conflicted about Trump, with his stance on Gaza, right? To me, that's I
totally disagree with him on it. It's hard to reconcile it.
Now, imagine if Joe Biden said they want to colonize Gaza, or Kamala Harris said they want to colonize Gaza, or if anyone other than Trump, if Marco Rubio, if anyone other than Trump said we want to colonize Gaza and build and take the Holy Land and build a giant gold statue of themselves and make casinos and lazy rivers and what else did you want to build, strip clubs in the Holy Land? Imagine if any Democrat said that. these guys would not be saying,
Like, I'm kind of conflicted about Trump.
they would not be saying, I'm kind of conflicted with Trump. Bro, they'd be letting loose on anyone else if they said it. But Trump has that cult following behind him. So if Trump says something that is only adjacent to the worst, most despicable leaders of all time, then it's like, well, I kind of, I disagree with Trump a little bit. On anyone else, they'd be having some fiery language for him. Fiery language.
Like, with his stance on Gaza, right? To me, that's like,
I totally disagree with him on it. It's hard to reconcile it in many ways. It's hard to reconcile because I see so much hypocrisy in terms of when we say America first, for whatever reason, we have this magic carve out. And you cannot pretend that that's not because AIPAC spends $100 million in our election. And this gets back to what we were talking about, whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's Israel, everyone's for sale in DC. And so
Now, if you tell them Trump is for sale, okay, using that logic, by the way, she only talks about Israel in this way. Every other foreign policy initiative is fine as long as Trump says so, but she says Israel's bad only because of the Jewish thing. Now, we disconnect those issues, obviously, Jewish people versus the Israeli government, and many Jewish people disagree with the government, but she hates all Jewish people. She is a Holocaust denier as well. But will they say Donald Trump is one of those politicians. Donald Trump is one of the politicians that can be bought out, that is bought out, because he has the most lobbyists in his administration of any president of all time. Will she say that Trump is bought out, or just like DC is?
talking about whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's Israel, everyone's for sale in DC. And so I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I have been disappointed, by the way, he's the last person I'm disappointed with, because I've been disappointed, as we saw all last year, with the conservatives, people that say they're Christians, who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like, you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares? And that gets into our programming, which I've spoken about in my podcast, of this 9/11 programming, where we just don't see Muslims as like human life. And to me, to speak about Gaza and talking about casinos and hotels, and these people just lost their entire families. Yeah. It's so far removed from humanity, and I think it's wrong. And I'm tired of America being used as Israel's piggyback. For whatever reason, everyone can critique every other country.
The statement about people not viewing Muslims as humans, if a liberal said that, they'd be called a SJW, by the way. But it's okay, because if you're saying that to be anti-Jewish broadly, then it's okay for her to say that, even being in the alt-right of politics. But you see how she is going to package her message that has really negative intentions. She's going to package it in a way that sounds empathetic, that sounds caring. She is a really good propagandist, don't get me wrong. So like Stephen A. Smith called her super bright. So her entire image is being rehabilitated into the mainstream in one of the most powerful ways possible.
Country for taking money from us, and then there's just everyone's blind when it comes to Israel. And obviously, I paid a very heavy price for saying that last year, but I don't care, because I am truly someone whose values have never been up for sale. Like, I don't care. I will burn everything to the ground and rebuild it. I have to be able to sleep at night, and to see those Palestinian children, and the images are seared into my brain. The screaming, the crying, the bleeding, the stuff that we saw on X for the first time, largely thanks to Elon freeing the bird, and really realizing how much we had been lied to about what was happening in that region. It was very easy for me to say, take whatever you have to take from me.
She literally went to school for journalism and worked for a private equity firm. Yeah, bro, she's not bought out or anything. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, she literally has changed her positions hundreds of times for money.
I have to be on the human side of things.
I think it's become both sides of the aisle now just see that human people just feel like that it's just wrong.
Of course.
What's happened is wrong. Like, probably a year ago, people were afraid to even say that. And now it is what everybody is saying. Like, even Piers Morgan is saying it on his show now. Like, people are saying it's obvious that you can't go and annihilate and genocide this culture and make them disappear.
And by the way, the Populism here with Theo Von and a couple other podcasters, I don't think they're compromised by money, but someone like, in a populist era, someone like Bernie Sanders is who you want to win versus someone like Donald Trump. Because if populism is the name of the game, you'd rather a progressive not even revolutionary. You'd rather a progressive social democratic reformist versus a fascist revolutionary. So we definitely should have let things go that direction, because Theo Von loves Bernie. I have so many people that call into my show saying they would have voted for Bernie if he won the primary. They would still be Bernie supporters. And those are the voters that won the election for Trump. And to be honest, the biggest demographics that moved to Trump are especially Hispanic men, and also just people of color in general. All these communities moved towards Trump more than any other Republican in recorded history, pretty much. And it's because of the populism. You know, people respond to populist messaging that sounds popular. And, you know, on an issue like this, not being able to show enough sympathy for whatever reason to Palestinian people it's an issue for politicians. And now, if you look at the poll numbers, when it comes to like Israel versus Palestinian sympathy, the Palestinian sympathy is about to cross higher levels than sympathy for Israel for like the first time ever, I think, because of recent developments. And it's really just interesting to see this all happen in the media space. But then people like Candace Owens take advantage of that to push her ultimate message. And that's why like neo-Nazis like Nick Fuentes are extremely happy. I don't know if I shared that, but Nick Fuentes is super happy that this ideology is penetrating the mainstream right now. I saw him talking about it earlier today. I'm sure there's still a video of him somewhere on here.
So that's how they play the Muslims off the Christians. They play the Christians off the Muslims. They always have. They hate us both. And they particularly hate Christians because they hate Jesus Christ. They hate Rome. They hate the Catholic Church. They hate the Europeans.
Yeah, it's about divide and conquer. Sure. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Nice. Let's see. Stephen A. Smith. Twitter research. He definitely talked about this. Here you go.
Vaughn's. Clearly. Candace on Theo Vaughn. And Theo Vaughn's clearly red-pilled. Stephen A. Smith had Candace Owens.
And you know what red-pilled means, bro.
He's clearly red-pilled. Jason Whitlock is praising Andrew Tate. He's clearly red-pilled.
And the younger generation right now is filled with more Holocaust deniers than any generation before them. So, like, young people right now are very, very anti-Jewish in their sentiments and are now questioning if the Holocaust ever really happened. The younger generation and the media consumption is cooking people's brains, bro. It's working for people like Nick Fuentes.
Andrew Tate is on Nelk, red-pilled. Tate is on PBD, spreading the message. Ian Carroll on Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan seems to be, I don't know if we could say he's red-pilled, but...
Well, Joe Rogan will believe anything, bro. Joe Rogan will believe literally anything. You could just say things over and over again, and Joe will be like, oh yeah, sure, yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that was happening. That's crazy. Like, he's prone to the most low-level brain slop you could possibly tell someone about. He'll believe... Another person that'll believe anything. That sounds like a conspiracy.
Certainly he hints every now and again that he knows maybe more than he lets on. So it is a very exciting time, and I love to see it. It does make me very happy, and it's very white-pilling. Because like I said, 10 years ago, when I went to Charlottesville and we said Jews will not replace us, that sort of encapsulates both of the problems, right? Which is replacement migration and... if Jews run society, are they...
Bro, isn't it so awesome that Nick Fuentes, a prominent neo-Nazi, is having a huge renaissance for Nazism in America because of the Donald Trump administration? Isn't it so cool? All of the people that get influenced because of Donald Trump. I love this so much. It's so cool because Republicans can't handle seeing gay people in public. But it's okay to see Nazis on the everywhere. It's cool.
They're not responsible. Back when I did that, I was radioactive, I was ostracized, I was canceled. They said my...
Bro, back when I went to the neo-Nazi rally, bro, back when I did that, it was negative. But now that Trump's back in office, bro, we're back. Now we're back, okay? Trump part 2. Now the neo-Nazis can have prominence again. Nick Fuentes is celebrating it. Hell yeah.
Career was over. And largely, it was the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro who were responsible for that. And they were untouchable at that point. And what a long decade it has been. What a long 8 years it has been since that time. And now it's almost reversed. Daily Wire is crashing and burning, desperate for relevance. Candace Owens has gone independent, going full red pill, talking about the things I've talked about on this show for years. It seems like the message is finally getting...
Bro, Trump just blamed the stock market today on the globalists. Trump said today that the globalists are not happy with how rich we're going to be. Trump said the globalists are the reason the stock market's going down. Not the tariffs, not the shoddy foreign policy, not the USAID contractions hurting our soft power, and not our total instability and the very fragmented market outlook. It's not that. Trump said it's the globalists, bro. Trump said the globalists are causing this crisis. Oh my god. Make sure you drop a like, hit subscribe for the algorithm. Thank you for joining me. Getting some YouTube clips recorded before I'm off. I don't know if I'm even going to do this. Okay, if you want to call in, you can call in again. I saw someone try calling in. Maybe you can. Maybe I'll let you. You really want to. Feel free. The call lines are open again if you were trying to call in. Thanks. Make sure you hit subscribe, dude. Stephen A. Smith. Wow. Wow. Dude, if anyone dares to criticize Pookie Bear Daddy Trump, you get censured, okay? You get censored and censured, just like Al Green. How dare they?
It's really because Republicans they're very thin-skinned and they're very sensitive and their feelings are very easily hurt, and so they have to vote on censure resolutions.
I wish more Democrats could have this energy, just calling them really sensitive, because it really is an extreme sensitivity. But Democrats are too weak and flimsy to make that claim. But Republicans are the most sensitive, most offended people of all time. They vote based off what they're offended by. They don't vote based off economic policy. They fell in love with Trump because Trump goes against all the things Republicans are offended by. No person in America, no group of people is more controlled by what they're offended by than conservatives and Republicans in America. Every decision they make is about owning the libs. I've never seen a group of people so captured by being haters. Just being absolute loser haters. It's all about owning the libs. You cannot handle yourself if you're not owning liberals. You have nothing to go for, nothing to build for, nothing to strive for, except owning libs. Can you please get a backbone? Please have something better to look forward to in the future, other than just being sensitive and being mad if someone criticizes your daddy, God Emperor, King, Pookie Bear? That's all for TikTok. Thank you. Stop calling from unknown numbers. I'm not going to take a call from unknown numbers. Stop kink shaming. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be mean to them. Donald Orwell. Orwell was a Democrat socialist. You know, the 1984 writer? The person that wrote 1984? 1984? That guy? Oh yeah, he's a Democratic socialist. That's crazy. Yeah. I saw this shared around earlier today. We're going to judge if it's a good take or not.
Just shrugging and wearing a pink fucking jacket. That shit pisses me off. Beyond reason. And them saying, well, we don't have any power to do, we can't, well, what are we supposed to? Trump and Elon, 90% of the things that they have done, they also do not legally have the power to do, but they've been doing it anyway.
It's not about doing things that are not legal, though. It's about just understanding where we are. So Hakeem Jeffries says, for example, House Minority Leader, he says, what leverage do we have? They have the Senate, they have the House, they have the presidency, they have the Supreme Court. What leverage do we have? Right now, in a system that is pretty much post-constitutional, people believing in things matters. The Constitution doesn't matter if people don't believe in it. So what leverage do you have? You have the ability to say things. If you say things that are convincing, you change how people think. If you change how people think, you change how they act and what they support. And if you change how they act and you change what they support, then we can move in a more productive way. Democrats make me mad because they don't make decisions that understand, that shows they have a clear understanding. We're in the year 2025. It makes me mad that they have not read history books about the failures of liberals throughout history against fascist movements. Influence matters. Media strategies matter. The Hakeem Jeffries strategy just today saying, well, Trump is losing. Republicans are losing because, I mean, in terms of losing, Trump is losing court cases. How Hakeem Jeffries would talk. But they said Elon Musk and Trump are losing in court. They can't pass anything through a vote. Do you think they care? Do you think they care? Their propaganda machine is working 100 million times better than whatever the Democrats have going on. The propaganda machine's working, and Democrats will not participate in counter propaganda. Democrats will not participate in that. They are relying on institutions that people don't believe in. You need people to believe in something. And right now, if you're not a revolutionary, if you don't want a revolution, either right wing or left wing, mostly right wing because right wing revolutions are a lot more common, especially in America. If you don't want a revolution, you need to be a true reform party. You need to be a true reform party. I mean, that's the point she's getting at with following the rule book. But you don't need to do things that are illegal. You need to be a true reform party.
Following the rule book, holding tight to those rules and whatever, isn't this moral high ground that you're taking. You're not better for it. You're actually worse. Because the rule book in and of itself, our Constitution and our rule of law and our system of governments, in and of itself hinges upon the fact that none of y'all would have let this shit happen. If this shit is happening, of course our principles of democracy are not going to work properly because no one on their side is going to follow the rules. So you just holding on to the rule book and saying, well, we're getting dunked on the House, but I'm going to wear a pink.
Reform to what? Reform to banning money in politics. Reforming to passing paid family medical leave and running on it as a serious thing that other countries provide for their citizens, but we don't allow for our citizens. Why do other countries that have less money, less wealth, less productivity, why do other countries have better public services than we do? Why do other countries have paid family medical leave and healthcare? And why do they ban pharmaceutical advertising in other countries? Because Democrats did not run on that issue. And guess what? A dumbass conspiracy theorist like RFK can now pretend to give a shit about pharmaceutical issues to push his anti-vax rhetoric because Democrats never ran on banning pharmaceutical ads. So now people think that's an RFK thing. And now they're using it for anti-democratic, illiberal parties that are anti-institutions in general. They're using this populist fervor, this populist anger for their purposes instead, which is tearing the system apart. So the reform is very simple. The reform of good policy solutions, sure, but real messaging that rejects their idea and conception of America. You need a cultural revolution, a cultural rebuttal, a counter propaganda machine, because they have propaganda bot farms literally everywhere, bro. Democrats need to compete somehow, but Democrats are okay with, like James Carville said, rolling over and playing dead. I hear liberals say all the time, let the people figure it out. The people are going to decide who can best lead them. No, bro, you need to convince people. You need to change people's minds. You need to inform people. You need a convincing way to do it with current media strategies. You can't just sit there and hope people go in the right direction. That's some of the dumbest. So many Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they've all said this. Carville, like, that's ignoring all of political history. You need to convince people to move a certain direction before you can do certain things. You can win elections off of the current leader being bad, but you need a convincing alternative. You need an alternative that's going to be at least something. Or, if you return to the system that gave us Donald Trump, like we did under Biden, you're going to get Donald Trump again. Even if the messaging is mostly just like a media strategy, even if the messaging is like the New Deal was more of a cultural messaging revolution than anything. We were dealing with wars. We're dealing with a lot of different global issues at the time. We didn't really do a lot of New Deal promises until other presidencies after FDR. But the New Deal was a cultural movement that was about making the government work for the entire country. Every person in the country could benefit from it. Not including the racist things FDR did. But I shouldn't even need to bring that up because it goes without saying. But regardless, we need that version. What is the Democratic response to MAGA? And it's not going to be, it's not going to be, we are the new party of Reagan.
Sure, that's fucking useless. Actively disrupting a fascist regime requires that you play outside of the rules. Y'all need to start doing that, because all of you just honoring this system of governance that is not happening anymore, that doesn't exist anymore, because you're thinking that, oh, well, democracy will just like get itself out of it. That's not what's going to happen. Rules of law and the Constitution do not account for you allowing a hostile takeover. Bar for bar, honest to God, if you look it up from the 1930s, how Hitler took over the government, sitting in that room and pretending that this all still works.
Yeah, you're legitimizing everything that's happening. You're legitimizing it. Even being at that speech yesterday, like, and doing the dumb protest stuff with the signs and the suits and everything being pink, or random walkouts. Even that, if you're not going to stand up and say something, you're really just helping legitimize the entire process. And that is comparable to Germany, because they did do their takeover through the legal system first and foremost. It was a very long process in Germany for the Nazi government to really take power. And they had Nazi lawyers that were very effective. And you need to understand that, and understand, like, would it kill a Democrat to pick up a history book about this stuff? Like,
is absolutely dignifying something that has lost all legitimacy. Sitting there and following the fucking rules and voting for shit that you're gonna fucking lose on, even though it's taking away the rights and dignities and money and everything, economic policy, everything. Our country is going to shut the fuck down in.
Yeah, we're one of the two countries, I think it's the US and New Zealand, that allows pharmaceutical advertising.
1 year, I don't think people realize how bad it's going to get. Okay? Trump threatening to fire all of the lawyers and judges who disagree with him, saying they're going to be investigated. The American Bar Association having to release a statement saying, fuck, like we are holding the line. We are bipartisan, but what the fuck? Like, this is really bad. You cannot, this is what we do. Trump saying, oh, the judicial branch is not allowed, lawyers and judges are not allowed to tell the executive branch what the laws mean.
And by the way, if Democrats do not message in a aggressive tone in response to this, people start to believe it. People start to believe it. They're manufacturing consent for bypassing checks and balances. Democrats need to aggressively respond to it. People are falling under the trap, the psychological traps the right wing sets for them. Like, it's so painful to watch.
That's literally to a T what our jobs are. That's the job description of what the judicial branch is. Acknowledging that the institution itself is broken requires acting outside of it now. But no one is willing to do that. And it's honestly embarrassing and disgusting. Wearing a different color shirt and holding up a little sign, enough.
Well, the first, yeah, I know there's a couple different historical accounts of the timeline, but it did take a while from 1923 to 1933 in Germany. But yeah, you need to have someone who can hold a microphone and wield influence. That's our greatest weapon right now. That's probably the only weapon. That's probably the only weapon right now. Checks and balances are not working that well. They're calling to impeach judges. They're calling for anti-democratic, anti-constitutional means all the time. And they are convincing people with the most emotional, manipulative argumentation possible. And Democrats will not, they will not even say the truth convincingly. It's a bunch of like kids who watched too much theater growing up, and now they're Congress people, and they were overly educated to the point where they don't know how to message with regular people anymore. And it's really, yeah, it is painful to watch. So I agree with their sentiment. I don't know, if we have Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries as leadership, we're not going to do any of this at all. So make sure you drop a like and hit subscribe. Thank you, Jordan, for $10. Thank you, Jordan. And Krusty B, welcome back to supporter tier, Krusty B. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Did you know there's a really cool membership option for this channel? Only $3. So cheap that Daddy Trump would take that deal. Beep boop. I'm a bot. Are you a bot? You might be a bot. There's no proof you're not a bot, so you might be. Okay, call in. I see her calling. Call in again. You can call in again. I see you people calling. Call in again. If you're watching. I think you can call in. No guarantees though. Here, let's do this too. Here you go. Go to my horizontal stream. There's another stream on my channel called the horizontal stream. Okay, we're gonna take you guys there. Okay. We're going to take you guys there. So when this stream ends in 2 seconds, go to the horizontal stream on my channel. All right, there's 28 viewers on it right now. Go to the horizontal stream. All right, see you there, buddy. Maybe not. Maybe not. I might be lying to you. Who really knows? Yeah, let's do it. Screw it. Okay, I'll take your call in 1 second, person. What is a really what is a big thing going on right now?
Just shrugging and wearing.
Okay. Article 5 of NATO. I can't believe I can believe Trump said that. I can very much believe that they say that. Indeed. When I say I don't believe it, it actually means I do believe it, because I kind of know how they is, you know? Yo, can I call in now? 1 second. I'm restarting my other stream for the people that like that stuff. One second. I'm starting up my shorts stream over again because I do that kind of thing for funsies. A lot of the post-election people that were paying attention to shit got kind of tuned out though. Turned whatever. Got kind of tired. I know a lot of people that were showing up in general, consuming political topics after the election. But there are a lot of down periods in this stuff. Okay, you can call in. It should work now. You can join Discord as well. There's a Discord link in the channel description. In the video descriptions on my channel, I mean. A lot of Discord links on the video descriptions of my channels. Okay, the video descriptions of my channels. Nope. I'm not taking unknown numbers.
Hey man, I just wanted to talk about the economy and all this stuff that's going on. I wonder if we can get to it. I'll leave the comment down at your page. Just give me a second. All right, but
Cool. Jeremy said first. Nice, Jeremy. Good for you, buddy. All right, no one's calling in. No one's calling. So sad. I thought someone was going to call in. I had such high expectations. What a shame. What a shame. To judge a life that you can change. The choir sings, the church bell rings. What a shame. The right is canceling their town halls because they're too afraid of public comments. As a veteran, I am ashamed to be an American right now. Trump is a traitor. Well, thank you for expressing that. Did you see Trump today say that he questions if NATO countries would actually come to the defense of America when America is the only country that evoked Article 5 of NATO and actually got our allies killed in Afghanistan, which was probably the least justified conflict to go into for as far as Article 5 is concerned for NATO. Not even Iraq. It was actually Afghanistan that we had allies. I think thousands of troops died from other countries, and Trump questioned them today. Would they actually show up for this? Would they actually show up?
Burst of emotion. I was emotional.
Okay. Thank you for $5, Jordan. Certified bot. Beep boop. The Reaper of Zombies is a certified bot, and I should know. Beep boop. Kyle programmed me in the bright blue waters of Alaska. Right up. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I understand that. So Al Green, the big goal of my I think it's really simple. My concept of how we have power right now, because Democrats don't have the House, Senate, or anything, but they do have power in the microphone. You can say things and you can change people's minds. Whoops. Okay. When you say things, you can change people's minds, and if you change their minds, you can change how they act, how they vote, what kind of movement they're a part of, etc. You need to be in front of them to change their minds, okay? And Republicans are good at getting earned media, typically, with podcasts, with saying dumb things. Al Green got censured by the House because he stood up during Trump's pep rally, because it's really a pep rally with cheerleaders in the crowd, and he said, you have no mandate to cut Medicaid. And some Democrats voted to censure Al Green as well. And it's like the hall monitors of Congress, essentially. Republicans were like, how dare you not have decorum, Al Green, ignoring Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert with their Neanderthal-shaped skulls screaming a bunch of dumb noises at Biden. They never got censured or kicked out of the State of the Union addresses. But regardless, Al Green was able to get free earned media by standing up and making a story. Now he's going to tell you his reasoning for doing that and his policy vision and what he's fighting for. So simple steps Democrats can follow to get millions of dollars in free media without spending $1 on advertising.
And I did it with intentionality. The president indicated that he had a mandate. I said to the president, you do not have a mandate to cut Medicaid. I have constituents who need Medicaid. They will suffer and some will die.
And remember, this is a Democrat talking about real policies that affect working class people and poor kids and the elderly, okay, who are all mostly people that worked really hard their entire lives, and now they cannot afford a super fancy retirement home or whatever, or a super fancy estate. So now they need Medicaid to help them in like nursing homes and whatever else it might be. This is the Democrat. He's interrupting Trump because Trump wants to cut real programs that are going to affect people, and that's why Democrats had a problem with Trump bringing out the kid for a propaganda reason. The kid that has cancer, the honorary police officer that he made into a Secret Service agent. They said, okay, so you care about this one kid for propaganda purposes, but you're going to cut funding for children's cancer research. You're going to cut funding for Medicaid, so kids are going to die because they don't have health care. But you're going to wheel out this kid to be a propaganda tool for you. Disgusting. Meanwhile, Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, they screamed to interrupt Biden to talk about they believe in like Jewish space lasers and conspiracy theories about Pizzagate. So the methods of causing disruption, it should be used by the left, but use it for real issues that are going to affect people, like Al Green is doing here. But just remember, Republicans, you only care about emotional culture war issues. Republicans care about emotional culture war issues. They don't really fight for or stand for much else.
If they don't get Medicaid.
At least today's Republicans.
I heard the speaker when he said that I should cease. I did not, and I did not with intentionality. It was not done out of a burst of emotion. I was emotional about it, but I did it with intentionality.
It's also hilarious hearing Trumpers pretend they care about decorum. Like, how dare you violate the rules of civility and decorum? Man, they're such emotional manipulators, bro. They can say all the most outrageous shit, but the moment a Democrat says something that even indicates they have some type of like life to them, Republicans are like, how dare you say something so mean to us? That violates the rules of decorum. Cry bullies.
I think that on some questions of conscience, you have to be willing to suffer the consequences. And I have said I will. I will suffer whatever the consequences are, because I don't believe that in the richest country in the world, people should be without good health care. I stood up for my constituents then. I'm standing up for my constituents now. I am grateful to Mr. McGovern for what he has said.
Trump got through that entire 10-hour speech. He shit on trans people for 40% of it, okay? Trans people, which make up 1% of the population. He shit on immigrants. He shit on Joe Biden. He blamed Joe Biden for shit he's doing. And Trump did not mention Americans and their health care once. He did not mention Americans and their paychecks once. He did not mention any issue that affects working class Americans once. Only issues that would make people emotional and start crying and be like, yeah, Trump said America's back. Go for America. He never talks about issues that affect people. Meanwhile, Al Green, who stood up and yelled at Trump, had more substance in his 10-second statement. You have no mandate to cut Medicaid. In that one 10-second statement, Al Green said more about actual policies that affect the American people than Trump did in that entire 2-hour speech.
I'm grateful to those who have been standing with me, but I will tell you, I appreciate you. No anger. The officers who escorted me out, they were kind to me. I don't blame the speaker for anything. Friends, I would do it again. I have to be candid with you. I'm not trying to in some way insult you. This is a matter of principle. This is a matter of conscience. There are people suffering in this country because they don't have health care. I'll close with this. On some issues that are matters of conscience, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. This is where I stand.
Trump lied on an official statement on White House Gov saying he put $2,000 back into the pockets of families today. What families? Where's that statement at? Did Trump actually make that claim? Trump, $2,000. Trump, White House, $2,000. Let's see if he made a claim about that. Well, it does say that Trump's tariffs will cost the working class families up to $2,000 a year. That is funny though. That is hilarious. That the one issue tariffs that do raise costs for Americans, Trump's like, it might create a little disruption. Who cares? It's like, okay, dude, you guys never cared about inflation. The only inflation you cared about was the inflated egos you would have once your daddy was back in office, and you can start hating people again for funsies. Because you don't care about building anything with your neighbors. You care about tearing shit down. It's a sad way to live. I hope you come outside and join human civilization eventually. Because it's really sad to sit there and just like cry about minority groups that you don't like because you don't like them. It's really sad, emotional, pathetic, whatever word you want to use for it. You guys gotta chill. You guys gotta chill out and stop being cringe. Make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me to the Jolah Rogan Hour. Nice. Why can I not? Okay, I can't see that. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, bro. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's so cool, bro. That's so cool. Wow. Thank you for commenting that. You are a sweetheart. 10 Democrats to censure Green, Ed Case, Jim Costa, Ami Bera, Laura Gillen, Jim Himes, Chrissy Houlihan, Marcy Kaptur, Jared Moskowitz, Marie Glusimkamp Perez, Tom Suozzi.
Call from. To accept, press 1.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
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 Hi. Nice. That was really cool. so cool. That was so cool, dude. That was so cool. Elon Musk blew up a rocket ship today.
Because of the lack of progress that we've had on this issue. And as we know, Republicans weaponize.
Call from
Cass.
Howdy.
What's going on, Jolah?
Nothing much. How about you?
Oh, enjoying the late night.
It is a beautiful late night, dude. Beautiful late night. It was raining all day today. You like the rain?
It is. It's not raining here. Whereabouts you at? Northeast?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have some questions, some comments.
Go ahead.
My first being, so my whole premise for this call is not to prove you wrong, it's to prove you right.
Wow.
My first question, are there any items on any of the agendas for the Trump administration that you agree with?
So I'm anti-money in politics, and I'm anti-big banks, and I'm anti-monopolies, and I'm anti-big tech. So probably not. I'm trying to think, is there anything? Let me see. Trump administration initiatives. Trump admin initiatives. And I mean like actual initiatives? No. Stuff they said they would do, like banning pharmaceutical advertising. Yeah, I agree with that, but they're not going to actually do that or even try to, so I don't know.
Well, how can you say that they're not going to or not going to try to? I can see where you might bring it to the they might not be trying to, but I don't know how you could take it to its logical conclusion of if they're not trying to, then they also aren't going to.
Because Trump was president before and he deregulated big pharma more, and he wants to like roll back Medicare's ability to negotiate drug prices. So he's probably not gonna, and he's also like very beholden to huge money, more than most presidents would be. So I doubt he's gonna go against the industries like that.
Okay, so he's beholden to big money in what way?
Every policy he does benefits the ultra wealthy.
Okay, but pharmaceutical companies in particular?
Well, they do have a lot of money. And when it comes to regulating pharmaceutical ads, I just don't think they would actually try that because he was president before and he did not do anything about that at all.
Yeah, he was president before, and that was in 2016 to 2020.
Yeah, and he's not doing anything different right now.
I think he is.
I mean, he's firing labor board officials and trying to purge judges and
what does
military
that have to do with pharmaceuticals,
generals. He just like doesn't care about issues like that. He has not said one thing about healthcare or pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, but that purview is under RFK.
Trump could say, for example, like Biden did, he could sign an executive order. Actually, Trump actually reversed an executive order that was going to lower prescription drug prices. So Trump already reversed a Biden executive order that was going to do that.
What executive order was that?
I'll find it. But it was something to do with policy methods for lowering drug prices. And Trump reversed that executive order. And he wants to reverse, like I said before, Medicare's ability to negotiate drug costs and that kind of stuff.
I'm also looking for that particular executive order.
One Biden era executive order instructed Medicare to explore ways to reduce drug costs. So like Joe Biden allowed the initiatives for the $35 cap on insulin, the counter prescription, or not the over the counter, but the prescription drug caps for Part D, the Medicare's ability to negotiate drugs, and there was another one, this executive order that Trump overturned. Let me see. It was the prescription drug cost one that instructed Medicare to look for limiting prescription drug costs, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to find what number it is, but
This is specifically in regards to Medicare?
yeah, yeah, he did not get to the negotiating Medicare drug prices one yet to cut that. But he did cut. Crap, I'm trying to find. Yeah, it was like an initiative for Medicare to look how they can reduce drug costs that he overturned.
Okay. So I want to put a pin in that because I do want to come back to it. To what degree does that have to do with pharmaceutical advertisements?
It just shows that he does not want to stand up to the pharmaceutical industry in every other way. As president, he deregulates everything. If you deregulate, then pharmaceutical companies can screw people over.
I do believe pharmaceutical industries do screw people over to some degree. There is the whole kerfuffle about all the middlemen that exist within the pharmaceutical industry that bring the pharmaceuticals to the table of the pharmacists, which there's a lot of money in that. One of the absolutely atrocious things, and I'm speaking from experience, is the amount of diagnosis, treatment, and use of Medicaid in order to boost profits from practitioners. Now, to the degree of being able to negotiate prices from a Medicaid standpoint, yeah, I can see that being a thing. If he actually did rescind that order and there's nothing in place and RFK doesn't have anything in place to tackle that, yeah, that is, I'd agree. That's something that's not great. I will tell you that from an insurance standpoint and from even a Medicaid standpoint, paying cash is 99.9%. Well, I don't want to be hyperbolic. It's probably 75% cheaper to pay cash than it is to operate through insurance or operate through Medicaid. So
it depends what kind of insurance you have too.
No, it actually doesn't.
It does matter what kind of insurance you have and what kind of risk pool the insurance has, because the deductibles and premiums can be lower if you have a wider risk pool that covers more people, because then they have more people paying in and less cost to endure. And also, if the population becomes healthier, it can also be cheaper for that reason as well. But like for myself right now with my insurance plan, it'd be so much more expensive for me to get, because I have employer-based insurance. It'd be so much more expensive for me to get to pay cash somehow.
How many times do you go to the doctor in a year? On average,
I don't know.
For the last
if you go in for if you have no insurance at all and you need a knee replacement, for example, how much do you think it'll cost under insurance versus cash?
For cash, it's typically between 40 to 60% less than what insurance would pay out.
So if you're on any insurance plan and you're like a 50-year-old that needs a knee replacement, it's going to be far cheaper if you're on insurance than it will be to pay in cash, because you're going to be paying less in deductibles and premiums, especially once you meet
No, but if
the
you're
deductible.
if you're a 50-year-old, you're a higher risk.
Yeah, but if you're 50 years old, it makes a lot more sense to be on insurance, and it does. I mean, insurance
Right,
does
so-
work by the healthy people helping pay into the risk pool, so anyone that might need help can get help, so they don't have to
Right,
pay
so
30,000 cash out of pocket.
So I agree with you. Younger people should probably opt for cash pay because the likelihood of having a knee replacement is a lot less likely.
But I'm for systems more so that people pay in, so we can help people that can't afford to just pay out of cash for everything. And it's usually a more productive society if people can see the doctor without worrying about paying cash if something bad happens to them.
So can you expand on that argument or that position? It's not really an argument.
I mean, if a young person gets into a serious situation, they're not going to be able to pay cash regardless. But having insurance gives them patient protections. It gives them access to checkups they probably would not get because they're trying to save money otherwise. But if someone has a really bad accident, it still benefits young people. Whether it's a car crash or, I don't know, you're playing a sport and fracture a bone or, break your Achilles or whatever it might be. It'd be good to be on insurance because it is what's called. It's called insurance for a reason. So if you have more and more and more people paying into the health insurance, it gets cheaper for everyone. Plus, anyone that might need care can still get care, and it creates a more productive overall society. Less people are injured, more people are able to get care. And yeah, everything in those systems typically turn out better, and that's why countries that have like universal plans, their people live like 8 years longer than we do in America on average because they're happier, they're healthier, they don't have to worry about paying out of cash for like a knee replacement.
Yeah, but I'd argue that there are other factors that go into the health in America to those that live in America versus those that live abroad. So what you're advocating more is for catastrophe insurance, so more along the lines of actual insurance as opposed to kind of the system that we have now.
I'd advocate for a system like what Australia has. So like everyone is guaranteed to be on the Medicare plan, but if you want to pay extra for a premium experience, you can pay for a more expensive plan. So you can either be on the Medicare system, but everyone still pays into it. You get a rebate back for healthcare. You could use the rebate for private plans. I'm pretty sure it works something like that. But yeah, I'd rather a system that operates as a service for everyone involved. I'm pretty sure even tourists can access healthcare in Australia, and you only pay like $10 if you see a doctor because their system is more stable and the price controls are easier. It makes care cheaper because if you have a universal system and like Medicare can negotiate lower prices, or like their governments can negotiate lower prices since they have multi-payer, which a government plays a big role. So like hospitals right now with like 50 different insurance companies can charge super high prices. They're not really limited by like we'd have to have some mechanism to it's why prescription drug prices are more in America too. We don't have like one person or like one system negotiating drug prices to be lower. It's a bunch of fragmented private plans that can't really manage cost as effectively in America.
That's interesting. It's funny. One of the things that you said during the whole, it was a change that United Healthcare was making in regards in terms of their anesthesia. And from what I've read, now I didn't go through and read through the policy. I probably could. From what I've read, it sounded like they were reducing the amount of anesthesia to match the Medicaid pricing, or the Medicaid time. So Medicaid is negotiating for lesser time, and insurance companies are matching for lesser time, but everybody's up in arms over the fact that insurance companies won't pay because Medicare is negotiating for something less. Wouldn't you call that deficient?
It's actually an interesting policy because I think that'd be a decent policy to have in America is if like whatever Medicare charges for something, a private insurer needs to charge the same amount. So like how much a service costs, or like prescription drug costs, whatever Medicare pays for it, they can negotiate down. But if you're a private cover insurer, then you have to provide it at the same price Medicare or Medicaid does. That's actually an interesting policy I saw like Ro Khanna talk about. But I'm not really sure. The company policy change was there was a lot of misinformation about it.
What was the misinformation?
The idea that they were gonna like kill people, or like they were gonna not get the amount of anesthesia that people need for surgeries. I'm pretty sure that
Right, they were matching Medicaid.
Yeah. So like right now, private insurance pays like 4 times more for everything than Medicare or Medicaid does, because Medicare and Medicaid are much more efficient than private insurance.
No. I'm
I'm
talking specifically about the time. The amount of time they were reducing to match the Medicaid policies that were in place. So Medicaid is paying for less time than what the private insurance companies were paying for, and they were reducing the amount of time in order to match Medicaid.
Oh, they're using. This is complicated. 1 second.
Again, this is my understanding. I didn't go through and read the policies.
No, because it's something. This was something a little bit different from what I'm saying. 1 second.
I understand you're arguing for prices. I'm talking about I'm bringing into Medicaid in this argument a previous argument that you made in regards to the policy that United Healthcare and your opposition against the reduction in time. From my understanding, the reduction in time was in order to match the amount of time that was being paid for by Medicaid. So United Healthcare was paying for more time. They reduced it to match what Medicaid was paying. Your previous argument was that you were upset about it. Your present argument is that you're
When did I say I was upset about it?
You what?
When did I say I was upset about it?
Maybe 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, so like for Medicaid, I'd rather a price like match for Medicare, not Medicaid. So I don't agree with matching it to Medicaid, because Medicare has higher standards than Medicaid does, because Medicaid is just for poor people, but Medicare, there's a lot more people that have money that are getting it. So the policies are typically better. There's a lot more funding in the system. But yeah, Medicaid is different. So like a Medicare match, I'd be for, but Medicaid, and it does matter which system you go off of, obviously, because there's going to be different standards for it. But like
in regards to the amount of time.
Yeah, so like, and that would actually make Anthem's insurance less competitive too with other companies, because like let's say like a hospital provides surgeries that are like over 100 minutes, which was the limit. If you're on Medicaid, then you're screwed now, because hospitals would know they need to take a loss if they take you as a patient, so they would deny more claims for Medicaid on that basis if it's capped at a certain amount of time. So yeah, people on Medicaid suffer. I wonder if there's a similar time limit for Medicare.
It's definitely possible. It could have been Medicare that that they were.
Yeah, so Medicare has no time blocks like Medicaid does.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me look this up. Medicare.
Yeah, so like Medicare, Medicare's lower reimbursement. Medicare has a price that does not exceed a certain amount, but the Anthem policy or Medicaid policy would have capped the actual time of it. But Medicare does not cap time; it just caps prices. But the services cost so much because if some healthcare policies will pay higher than Medicare, then the prices from every hospital in the country are going to go up, especially if there's a million different private companies all kind of competing for these different areas. Whereas if there's no competition in that sense, where every country's kind of competing to pay higher prices, we'd instead have a system where companies would be challenged with providing good services for lower prices. And one reason our care costs higher in America for hospitals than it does in like Canada or Australia or Germany, even with comparable populations, because like Australia has a similar obesity rate to what we do. I hear people use that as an argument for our system having worse outcomes pretty often. But yeah, the hospitals and how they're ingrained with the insurance industries allows them to charge a lot more for prices. And that's why like the incentives for a medical system are kind of difficult to track for like as in terms of like the free market and how the free market is concerned. It's a hard market to manage because the market incentives don't always go in the right direction.
Yeah, but to what degree is it a free market when the government is involved in whether or not you're required to have insurance, and to what level of insurance that needs to be paid? My argument on this is that because and I've seen it not in multiple industries when it comes to insurance. I've been working in insurance industries for the better part of the last 8 years in one industry and 2 years prior to that in a different part of the insurance industry. And I know several people in multiple parts of the insurance industry. And to a large degree, the incentives for kind of what your argument is for is let's get prices cheaper, right? In this particular instance, it sounds like the means is through Medicare, and not through Medicaid.
No,
Because
Medicaid is going to have worse
additional
care.
payments. Do what?
That's mainly because Medicaid has worse care in general than Medicare does.
Right, yeah. So let's get prices cheaper. That's the root of the argument, right? We want more affordable health care.
Yeah, but
Am I wrong in that?
the issue in America, if you pay like the Obamacare mandate, for example, we're paying once to facilitate we're paying to do the Facilitated Affordable Care Act marketplaces. So we're paying a mandate to private companies and then paying deductibles and premiums on top of a mandate and whatever we need to like pay into the overall system. So a large percentage of what we pay for is the bloated administrative fees, which are much higher for private companies versus Medicare, because private companies spend a lot of money trying to deny coverage versus other countries as well. So like my ideal system would be to allow, for example, Medicare Part there's like Part B and Part D, like allow another part of Medicare or have just like private plans on top of Medicare and slowly lower the Medicare age over time until it covers everyone eventually, and then make like a 2-tier system. 1 tier being the government plan that everyone's guaranteed whether they lose their job, whatever. It's a very baseline of care. And then number 2 would be you could buy, like the 2nd tier could be you could buy private insurance on top of your Medicare if you want like I don't know, lower waiting times and higher quality. And then employers can, instead of employers using insurance as a way to lock employees in where they cannot switch jobs, I believe it gives more freedom to people too if they have some type of plan to fall back on if they do lose their job or if they want to switch jobs. They'll have insurance regardless, but we could also maintain a market in America as well, kind of like the Australian or German systems. So yeah, I want it to be more affordable, be cheaper, and I think the expenses that we accrue in America, how we pay so much more per capita in America, although we have like 40 million people with no insurance at all, is largely because a lot of our money goes to profits and goes to administrative costs and the bloated cost of like health of like hospitals.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing from this, it sounds like you're for the reduction of administrative costs, and you are for basic health care. And I'm assuming that this is for things like colds, flus, maybe simple procedures that people learn how to do within their first year of residency. And then, yeah, I can agree with that, the removal of the government and the smaller, or not of the government, removal of the smaller items being paid for to for-profit companies, the emergency rooms for things like I guess maybe like arm breaks.
Well,
or...
I would still have like Medicare, like the expansive system. I would still have that cover pretty much, most things. But like right now, a lot of people rack up emergency. They use the emergency room as their doctor because they don't have insurance. So they actually cost hospitals a lot more money and cost the system a lot more money, and that drives up costs for us as well. If people are using the emergency room with issues that could be solved by a nurse practitioner or an RN or a physician's assistant, or just like a family doctor, those people take that issue to the ERs and make us cost us a lot more money. There are a lot of preventative healthcare measures we could take as well that would allow people to have less diseases, less injuries, invest more money in wellness and health in general. If we did not have a system right now that was so fractured. So I mean, I would be adding a tax to everyone for this system, but everyone would be guaranteed if they lose a job or whatever, kind of like how it works in these countries that do a lot better than us. But you could also, if you do well or if you get a job in general, then they could add hey, but as a perk of this job, we have Medicare Part D or whatever private insurance companies you have an option to increase. I don't know, skip white lines and stuff like that. Because I know the big criticism of Bernie Sanders' system and Canada is wait times. But Australia and Germany, if you do have a certain amount of privilege or you want to pay for private coverage, you can pay a premium and get that coverage. But also everyone has coverage. It lowers the crime rate. It lowers the mental health issues. It lowers the amount of kids that it actually heightens productivity in general. And there's a lot of negative externalities that are cut out in these systems. And I would say as well that I consider corporations to be their own governments in a sense. So the vast majority of people that do have health insurance would probably pay less under this system, just because right now they're paying the health insurance company, the administrative costs, the higher costs in general. No one's able to negotiate costs down because of the bloated system and all these insurance companies. And we do already pay taxes into healthcare. So we should just do, taxes into healthcare. Don't do deductibles and premiums. Don't do mandates to facilitate private markets so they can make profit off of it. Make it an industry that's focused on serving people and taking out the bloat of it. So that if I was a Democrat and I was running on universal healthcare, that's the universal healthcare I'd run on.
I feel like it's a pretty moderate standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, the full single payer is Canada. The full government-owned doctors and payer would be the NHS in the UK. And then, like I said before, Germany and Australia have mixed models that still guarantees coverage to everyone with much better outcomes. And all these countries, their people live 7 years longer than Americans do. And it really is by zip code. So poor people and working class people would benefit the most from having a system like that here. America is, in terms of first world countries, is extremely radical in a sense that we are very to the overwhelming free market side of and bloated side of the equation. So UK's full control NHS, Canada single payer, then Australia. I agree that's a moderate position, but I think America is far, not far right, but to the more free market as far as healthcare systems are concerned.
I think the idea is that it should be more free market, but I don't think that in actuality and practice, the way that it is set up now is as free market as it has been in the past. And I find it interesting. So you're talking about you're saying that through your job, the benefits of insurance is more expensive, and you think that having insurance as a benefit should be removed? Am I right?
No, I'm saying that it should be an actual benefit. It should not be for example, right now, the only reason some people can afford any health care is because they have a job. So if they lose that job, they're screwed because they are going to lose their healthcare if they lose their job. Or if they want to switch jobs, there might be a gap where they don't have any coverage, or they might have to question what coverage they do have. I'm saying that employers, we'd all be on the universal plan, but employers can actually offer a better healthcare plan as incentives and as a premium. And if you opt to use that private plan, you actually get a tax rebate back from the government. So a percentage of the taxes you paid in to the Medicare system, if you're not going to use the government system, you get a rebate from that, and then you could put that towards whatever premium private plan you then you would then be opting for. But yeah, that's why it says a 2-tier two-tier model, but the businesses can actually provide it as like an actual benefit rather than right now being like life or death for some people.
Okay, I can.
Oh, I'll also add just like another caveat as well, like state governments and all the different complicated methods we need to go through, like state governments, local, federal, private insurer markets, different state plans, and going across state lines, and how your healthcare functions in different states. Like all that stuff creates a super complicated and bloated system as well. So streamlining it can be a little bit more simple. That's why, like, if you're 64 years old, I know so many people who are like begging to get on like to be 65 to be on Medicare, so they don't need to deal with like private insurance anymore.
I can get behind some of that. I still think that some of the stuff that's going on within the Medicare, Medicaid system, some of the things that are going on within the private healthcare system, and I do agree with you, the administrative in-betweens, the middlemen, it does create a very, very large discrepancy between the prescriber and the prescribee. I guess I don't know if that's a word, but it definitely does add, and there's definitely some things that we can do there. I do think that there is some things that can be done through nurse practitioners. I do believe that most nurse practitioners do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to those that are affected by, whatever's going on. I also think that there should be a push for a cultural change into understanding just basic medical practice, and not even medical practice, just basic medical understanding in terms of basic diagnostics. As to my example is it's fairly easy to tell when somebody has strep throat, right? It's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty easy to tell when somebody has a cold or the flu or something that's relatively similar.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there should be cultural teachings in that sphere.
Well, for a strep, you do need a strep test. So like we can have a process where it's like if I don't know, you have a picture of it, you can send it to your doctor. They can say, oh yeah, that's worth coming into the office. You can have a system where you don't need to see the doctor every single time, or you can see a nurse, or you could administer a strep test pretty easily.
Strep, yeah, to get a verification that it is strep, as 100% verification, yeah, get a strep test, 100%. It's not medical advice.
Yeah, because there's a couple of different things like strep can be. So I'm just saying, like in general, like you can see, yeah, if you see like the white spots in your throat, then you might need to go to the doctor sooner. So you can get antibiotics or whatever, so it doesn't proceed into whatever the other thing is you can get with strep. But like you said something about like healthy people and healthcare, but like my big thing with people in healthcare, if someone put in chat how their friend had like a brain tumor or something, I forgot what the chat said exactly, but like I'm okay with paying extra into the healthcare system to guarantee if I develop I don't know, if you break your arm or cancer or whatever it might be, a tumor, whatever that, diabetes, whatever it might be, that might be more expensive than just paying out of pocket for elective treatments or for like check-ins with the doctor. I'm fine paying more in the premiums for that, chance that I get one of those big issues. Even if I'm a young healthy adult, it's really good having that peace of mind. And also I don't really want my neighbors going through that stuff as well. And like I said before, if my neighbors go through that stuff, the crime rate goes higher, the happiness of the people that I'm around gets a lot lower. It's just a lot worse of a world, and we lose our sense of community as well. So I'm happy paying more to support people who truly go through a lot of things that are out of their control, or even in their control that are huge health issues. Because you want everyone to be healthy for a more productive society. And I think if we have a culture that's a culture that's more geared towards helping each other, I think that would actually go a long way in getting buy-in from people to do things like take care of their health more. If we have like a more open community where we say we care about each other and we're not just going to be like alone in this free market wasteland, Mad Max, whatever. I feel like more people would be out in the community and like teaching each other things about health and mindfulness and wellness or whatever. If we did have a culture that was focused more on helping each other over just like companies finding out how they could squeeze profits out of us at every turn, and then we could hold our elected officials accountable if they mess up the system. So I think that's like a good mechanism. But right now I don't really know if people have enough literacy to keep track of a lot of that stuff. But
well, I think that might be putting a little bit of a stigma onto Joe Everyman. Because I mean, there are a lot of people that I know that you would first glance, you'd be like, all right, this guy doesn't seem to be the brightest of the bright. And they'll
it's not about dumb. I think people are smart, but the issue is right now, like the cultural issues are the big divider. The culture issues can make our critical thinking parts of our brain shut off, and also the information environments. Like if I talk to a Trump supporter about this topic, like a super hardcore Trumper, then I usually just hear like, okay, well, this is communism. Trumper. But you're not. You're obviously okay. If you're saying the things I'm saying are somewhat reasonable, you're not reading freaking Laura Loomer, Marjorie Taylor Greene conspiracy theories about globalism and communism and universal healthcare being a sign of Satan. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people, especially from rural areas, that like saw a smartphone for the first time, and now they believe the wildest shit about the world. And I just don't like the cultural issues are the thing that makes our brains go crazy. If you're like a hardcore Trump supporter, then like, you know, Trump spent his 2-hour speech, like a lot of it was focusing on trans population, which is like 1% of the population, and also immigrants and Joe Biden.
No, there wasn't a whole lot talking about trans. There was probably maybe a 10-minute segment. There was a lot of other stuff that was covered within that 2-hour speech. I don't think the majority of it, and I've seen that speech 4 times, and I saw the speech 4 times watching multiple people react, as well as watching the speech by itself. So I watched the speech by itself so that way I could take my own information, and then I watched other people give their opinions on them so that way it could shift and shape my ideas as to whether or not, hey, this is something that I didn't consider. This is a perspective that I didn't see, versus me looking at something and saying that, hey, I know everything because I saw it myself.
Do you believe in the transgender mice? Do you think that's a real thing?
Oh, it's 100% a real thing.
Do you think that mice have genders?
Yes.
Do you think they made mice transgender to study gender dysphoria?
Do I think they made them transgender? No. Do I think that there was a study and funding for mice to understand the gender effects or sexual effects of, and I'm using gender in synonymity with sex.
Okay, so this was debunked a few weeks ago, but Trump repeated it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
so the study was about, but the study was about transgenic. It was about transgenic mice, which is a term about growths inside, like introducing foreign.
Look up CNN's retraction. It was debunked by propagating that it was about transgenic, and then they went, "Oh crap! No, we messed up."
The one DOGE contract they canceled was for transgenic, but I did not see if there was another transgender one. But I did see the DOGE contract that was canceled, and they said it was for transgender animals, but it was for transgenic. So this might be a different thing. I'll have to Google it.
Look up trans mice CNN. MSN CNN.
Okay, regardless, I don't think they made. I'm pretty sure there's no trans mice. But I could see. So the transgender mice comment was said first in DOGE.
This is on MSN.
I don't trust the biased liberal media.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But when they're fact checking themselves,
No, I don't trust that. No, I don't trust what they say. You cannot cite them.
okay. But you cited them in a short, like a week ago. So
No,
if
I
you
don't trust.
them,
I don't
but
trust the
you're citing
mainstream. Wait, you can't cite them either because you don't trust them. Don't cite them. Cite someone else.
Okay, so if we're going to, let's see, cf.org, I don't know who these guys are. CNN retracts fact check on Trump's transgender mice comment. CNN issued a correction after the network inaccurately asserted that President Donald Trump falsely claimed the Biden administration spent $8 million to make mice transgender. And I'm going to scroll down, and it says the White House released a statement listing 6 NIH grants for studies on hormone treatments in mice, a combined total of $8,290,053. Biden-era grants includes $455,000 to study gender, and quote, gender-affirming hormone therapy on HIV vaccine-induced immune responses, $2.5 million to study the reproductive consequences of hormone therapy, $299,940,000 to study testosterone therapy on breast cancer risk treatment, $735,113 to study the effects of hormone therapy on mouse microbiomes. This has nothing to do with
But none of that means transgender mice, though, right?
Right, I agree with you on that. They're bearing the lead here.
So like on the two separate topics, just like one part being transgenic studies being canceled by DOGE, okay, for example, where they Googled trans and they canceled it because it said trans, but it was transgenic. That happened. Okay, and also like Trump saying there's transgender mice. That's also, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess you could say hormone therapy, studying the effects of hormones in the body, but also like, different people take hormones that are not trans as well. So studying that can, animal research like that is how we find out how things are going to affect humans. So I don't really have a problem with that research. I don't know if you would, but I just don't like having so many things like that represented as like, I don't know, like, oh, they're turning the mice trans because they're gender crazy. It's like, no, this is like a scientific thing that gets us a lot of information about like how this stuff will affect humans. I just feel like mocking that is just I don't know. I still want that research to be done. I don't want that stuff to be canceled.
I think research is important, but I think if you're researching things that are to this point have in the scientific community writ large shown to be generally damaging to humans, whether it be
what's generally damaging? Well, don't say logically.
Damaging psychologically, physiologically.
Okay. No, but in what ways? Like what is damaging in what ways?
Well, we can look at hormone replacement therapy. Not in the sense of those who are unable to create the hormones on their own, because that's thyroidism. We have general understandings and very well documented. Well, I say very well documented. We have well documented research on those types of issues. But when you start introducing additional hormones outside of what the body is able to create on its own, outside of what the body should be creating on its own, simply on a psychological basis.
And for this purposes, are you saying it should be banned?
Should what be banned?
Like hormone replacement therapy.
To what degree?
For
who?
For anyone, because a lot of people use hormones for different reasons.
I don't think it should be banned for anyone. I think
should
be.
Okay.
I hold on. I think it should be banned for children who are typically going through their own hormonal growth into adulthood.
Into adulthood. Are you saying during puberty, or like when they turn 18 they can't get them?
Before, during, and after they are legally adults, because laws are a thing, for those who are simply suffering from a DSM-5 psychological disorder, yes, we should have extreme reservations on that.
You could have reservations on it. Like, you should have reservations before putting a kid on any drug or any medical
We should have legal reservations on hormone therapy as a result of an affirmed psychological disorder. I think that 100%.
So like if you work with a psychiatrist for multiple years and you're turning 16, should you not you should not be allowed to start HRT at 16, are you saying?
No, the studies show that the assistance rates increase as time goes on post-puberty.
I'm saying that monitored by a medical board in a state, they can have standards that they set. I just don't think we should make laws about it. I think there should be more research done because, like I said, trans people get it, cis people get it, everyone gets it. Some type of hormone therapy. At some point, a lot of people get it. There should be more research done. It should be guided by medical boards and doctors. There's already not like irreversible surgeries happening before 18. Like Trump says, kids going into schools. And...
Wait, let me clarify. Let me clarify what you said. Did you say that there are not irreversible surgeries happening?
No, I think in 99.9% of cases, there's not irreversible surgeries happening before the age of 18. Like when Trump says the kids go in school and they come back with their body parts chopped off or whatever, like that's just a complete lie.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a lie if they're going into a school. You can't get surgery in a school. I mean,
but he just repeats that stuff and people believe it. I know so many Trumpers that believe that unironically, which is why it's bad that Trump says it over and over again.
I've never heard him say that there are surgeries happening in schools.
He said that was one of his main things. They go in, they get a treatment, and all of a sudden they're a different gender when they come home one day.
Well, there are definitely social reaffirming. I don't even know what the particular term would be. I don't think that if Trump said that kids are going into schools and having their body parts chopped off, I don't think that's accurate. If he's talking about kids that are going to school and then coming back from school saying that they don't feel like they align with their body psychologically.
Yeah, so in the speeches he did say that they get surgeries in school without parental consent. Yeah, he said surgeries a lot in the campaign trail. Oh, yeah, at a Moms for Liberty event, he said that as well.
At a Moms for Liberty event. Now, I do know of
he said your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides your kid's going to get an operation. And people believe this now, and they're like, I know teachers that get attacked for this.
I do know of a couple of cases where there have been children that were removed from their home and brought to states where the vetting process was more lax. And I do know that there were some states that passed laws in which the schools, by law, per the law passed, had an obligation not to speak with the parents.
So like a law in California says that like a teacher's not required to by law. They won't get arrested if they decide not to tell the parents. But there's nothing saying that the school cannot tell the parents at all if their kid is trans or gay. It's just that the teachers are not required to by law. But I don't know any states that like require teachers to hide any information if a parent is asking, for example. It's just that teachers don't need to tell, especially because like a lot of this is because of abuse concerns. And if there are kids being taken to different states, like right now, being gay or trans in like Texas might get you a felony eventually because of the laws they want to pass. So like in those scenarios, or like if a woman has a miscarriage in Texas, it makes sense why they'd want to move to like a blue state where the freedoms are more free. Because in the red states they might go to jail.
I live in Texas. Miscarriages and what are those pregnancies? It starts with a P. I forget the name. I think it starts with a P. There's a specific type of pregnancy, ectopic, and definitely does not start with a P. Ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages are not considered in the state of Texas, and I know this. I live in the state of Texas. I looked at the laws here. It's not considered an abortion.
But do you see how like for example, if you're talking about murder, why like someone who's like does gynecology would not want to be in a state that can possibly make a determination that it's their fault. Like if a kid is not, or like let's say there's a child that's born and it's gonna die right away because of some health complication. You don't want to live in a state where it's possible for that state to blame you and possibly bring you to trial for murder. So that's why a lot of people are leaving Texas for health reasons.
Wait, so the child was born.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you're a state that's gonna pass this law, you have some crazy judges who will say a miscarriage was the doctor's fault, and like it's just a scary scenario to be in those states that have, and they're trying to pass more aggressive laws too, but it's just like scary to practice these types of health procedures because if the line between murder and not murder in the state's law is like discretion from like a judge that's not, because like the state medical board should be enough regulation in my opinion, but if the law is going to be determined by a state judge, then I would just be scared to practice there if it's going to be like any scenario like that. It's scary.
So the fear is judges making decisions based on what?
Bias in general, just like blaming someone for something that didn't happen. If the abortion exemptions in like Texas, Oklahoma, and a couple other states like South Carolina, if you can lose your medical license or face years in prison for something, and you have something like a miscarriage or a medically necessary intervention, what if a judge disagrees that it was medically? I just think it should be a doctor's decision if it's medically needed at all. And I don't want a judge. I do not want a judge to be able to look at that case and be like, "Well, I actually disagree with you," and be able to put someone in jail. And I just think the protections in these states, according to doctors, are I know people who work in like gynecology, who work in like delivering actual babies, who say the laws in these states scare them. They're not going to go to schools anymore in these states because of these laws and being concerned. Like, okay, well, if something goes wrong and they want to blame someone, they'll find someone to blame, and it creates a scary situation for both women and also providers.
I can understand where that would be a scary situation if
I have a name too.
Necessary isn't defined loosely.
So look at Dr. Caitlin Bernard. Dr. Caitlin Bernard. So there was a 10-year-old that got raped. And she traveled to Indiana after Ohio passed a more strict abortion law, and she performed the abortion for this 10-year-old rape victim, and she got fined by $3,000 and reprimanded and got death threats and a bunch of other stuff from around the country. And they did not remove her license, but that's just one example of how like it creates an environment where people are questioning a doctor's decision, even if it's lawful. That public pressure and also the different states' laws, when you're going from like the medical standards vary so greatly state to state, it just it's really difficult. And there was some issues with like reporting child abuse, and like there's a couple other conversations about it. But like the massive conversations were like her getting death threats and harassed for her doing this in general.
Right, and that's wrong. That's wrong across both sides. That's wrong on both sides of the aisle, right? Nobody should be getting death threats for holding positions that they hold. That's part of, that should be part of the zeitgeist of free speech, is that we should not vilify those who are holding their right to free speech and practicing their right to free speech. I completely agree with you on that.
But you see the issue there, like 10 years old, she was raped, 6 weeks pregnant, and she had to travel. She had to travel to a different state to find a doctor that would do the abortion. And that traumatized 10-year-old girl had to travel because of these Republican laws limiting their freedoms.
She was traveling from where to where? I'm kind of trying to brush up on this because I believe I remember this case. Indiana board reprimands Caitlin Bernard. So she was traveling from Ohio.
And Fox News commentators Jesse Waters and Tucker Carlson lied about her too, and that helped get her death threats because they lied about her. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, that I haven't read and I don't know about, so I won't comment on that.
No, I'm just saying, this is what the Fox people do. It's because of the Ohio's heartbeat abortion ban. Because she was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant, so she could not get an abortion, and there were no exceptions for rape or incest in Ohio.
Let's see. I don't know specifically Ohio's laws. Now that sounds, I'm at a disadvantage here because trying to look up the law, and specifically, I would much rather go and read the law myself.
It's a typical heartbeat. So imagine the 6-week heartbeat ban. She was pregnant 6 weeks and 3 days, and there was no exceptions. No exceptions for rape or incest. So she would have had to carry the child or carry the fetus to birth in Ohio. Essentially, there were no exceptions for it. I'm pretty sure Texas has that. Wait a second. Texas has no exceptions for rape or incest either.
Texas might.
Right. So and private citizens can sue anyone who helps someone get an abortion.
Hold on. I'm looking at lawshun.com. Abortion laws, rape, incest, and exclusion. Ohio's abortion laws have been the subject of much debate and legal challenges in recent years, with a heartbeat law or fetal heartbeat bill coming under particular scrutiny. It says, however, ongoing legal battles and political divisions over abortion in Ohio continue to leave patients and medical providers in a state of uncertainty. Characteristics and values. Current exemptions: medical emergency, rape, incest, or if the pregnant person's life is in danger. It sounds like she traveled to a different state without needing to.
No, she was pregnant 6 weeks and 3 days, so it would have been against the law.
Let's see. 6 week of gestational age. What is gestational age?
I don't know. I just know she is 6 weeks and a few days pregnant. But in Texas as well, that there's extreme laws, so she would have had to leave Texas too. And the line between a necessary abortion for the mother's life, the debate if it's necessary for the mother's life in Texas can land you in prison if you're a doctor. It's just really scary for doctors to practice in that environment where they might be held by law to not give what they deem as proper care to their patients, especially when the state might disagree with them on what that proper care might be. So if you're a little girl who gets raped in Texas, you might be in a really bad position because you're a little girl and you don't find out you're pregnant until a while. You're forced to carry the fetus. I'm against that. But that's why I'm against the Texas law, South Carolina, Ohio, Indiana, Oklahoma, all the red states have abortion laws that were. It's probably these are the most radical abortion laws in American history. I'm pretty sure, because abortion was not really a hot topic until like the 70s or 80s when evangelicals picked it up as a political issue. But before that, we did not really care that much about it. I'm pretty sure.
Right, and I mean I can understand that. There's definitely instances that we've seen in the last several years in which courts hold ridiculous ideas, ridiculous claims. I wouldn't say necessarily. Again, I'd have to go and read the actual bill itself to know what it means by current exceptions, because you can have a medical emergency, rape, incest. Again, this is just what I'm reading. Current exceptions: medical emergency, rape, incest, or if the pregnant person's life is in danger. I can't imagine that if the pregnant person's life is in danger would be limited to 6 weeks. I'm wondering if the same might be said for rape and incest.
No, there's no exemptions for that, I'm pretty sure. Also, what I said before, we basically, in these states, you're back to pre-1970 law, so like 1960s law.
No, well, and again, I'm agreeing with you to the degree that medical, right, to the degree that medical emergency is very clearly defined in law. At the moment, in a majority of the states, medical emergency could be at whatever discretion the doctor deems a medical emergency. So if it's physiological results in death, sure, 100%. And my personal belief on this is, and I've been asked this before, if you had the choice between your wife and your child, which would you choose? And my choice is always my wife. The reason being, and it sounds callous, but the reason being, I can potentially conceive another child with my wife. And if it results, if it's the life of my wife versus the life of my child, potential child, if one has to survive, I'm going to choose my wife. And that is a current exception, medical emergency. And again, medical emergency, and that I think has to be clearly defined in law. And if it is at the state level, I don't think that practitioners would have any kind of there wouldn't be any wiggle room to say, well, I'm fearful.
There's a case called Zurowski versus the state of Texas. So another big issue is that, like, to provide this care legally, doctors need to wait until the woman is already suffering and to the point of actual, like, near death to do any, like, surgeries or any care, because if they do anything earlier, they might detect signs of something happening. They cannot perform anything on the woman to give her health care, to give her care, because it might be against the law. So Zurowski versus the state of Texas, several women were denied timely medical care during pregnancy complications because the doctors were scared of the restrictive abortion laws and losing their licenses and being put in jail for murder. So they waited until the women were in dire circumstances to actually give them care. And I know multiple women have, like, bled out trying to travel to blue states to get care, because doctors in the red states will just say, no, we're not going to take the chance, we're going to go to jail for this. So women need to drive to blue states then.
So what you're saying is that there is precedent set as a result of those who were in fear.
It's still scary when the line between you going to jail for a felony or not is such a subjective thing for the lawmakers and for the judges, though. Like, it's a very ideologically driven thing, and it's very anti-freedom, which is why I'm very against the laws in these states.
I can kind of, I can agree that it's scary, and there are two propositions that I have in order to fix the issue of it being scary. Right. Number one is very clearly defining in law what does or does not constitute for medical emergency, or if the pregnant person's life is in danger. Right. Clearly defining what that means is number one. And number two is for doctors to uphold their oath to do no harm.
And the Supreme Court, okay, but this is another thing too. But that oath, I'm saying these laws are making doctors violate their oath. So like the doctors waited till the point where she had they waited till she had septic shock and permanent reproductive damage, and she lost the case against the state of Texas. All these women lost the case. So the legal precedence is set that they will lose a case if they even bring it to them. So what the doctors did, letting the women go through septic shock to the point of losing the reproductive systems and almost dying, that was legal under Texas state law. That's barbaric. That's like third world country shit that we're doing in America.
All right, let me write this down because I want to read this law.
But that's why it's like a women's health issue. It's not because women like want to get abortions. It's because like pregnancy is a very, it's a child growing inside of someone. So, or a fetus growing into a child inside of someone who's gonna be coming out. And it messes up a woman's body, and a lot of women die giving birth and all that kind of stuff. And this is, I think, the mother. Let's see. Mortality rate for mothers in Texas
Wait, before you continue, what was the name of that bill? I want to because I'm
Zurowski versus
the
Texas.
name of that case.
ZURAWSKI versus Texas. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Yeah, I can't speak too much to this, obviously, because I haven't read the case. I'll pull the PACER documents and see what evidence was
and I would also say too. So after the abortion ban, maternal mortality cases, this is women giving birth, rose by 56% since the abortion ban. It rose by 56%. So 56% more mothers are dying from during birth because of the ban, because doctors are scared, like I said, and also the increase in infant mortality rose by 10%. And there's a 23% rise in deaths due to birth defects as well. So a lot more, yeah.
Can you provide the source for that?
Yeah. This article's from the New Yorker. It just disappeared when I clicked on it.
And the New Yorker's mainstream media. We don't trust them.
I'm trying to find what sources they went off of. What hospitals they cited. But this has been true across every state with the laws and the bans. Thank you, Jeremy, for $2. Thank you, Jeremy, for the balloon. Thank you, Edge House Journey, for $5. Thank you, Jeremy, again for $5. Jeremy said multiple women have died in Texas because of the abortion ban. Look it up. So yeah, I mean, you could do some looking up of the stuff for yourself, then call it another day if you want, or join the Discord too. There's debates going on in Discord pretty often at night. People talking in the voice chat. Yeah, nationwide there was like a 10% increase. Let's see where Wikipedia links us to. I'm gonna hop off and go to bed. So yeah, I'll let you finish for the stream. But
if you have the source for that, I mean, that'd be great. Just a couple of takeaways. I'm in agreement that Roe v. Wade should have been upheld only insofar as to define what a person is under the Constitution. Because if it's left up to the states, then the states have the ability to define what a person is, and we've seen what that does in the past. All right, that results in disparities between beings that exist, living beings. And I think I think you're more moderate than you are left. I think there are a lot of things that the Trump administration is doing that you do agree with. That
how about you make a list of those things? How about you make a list of those things? I'm not going to be streaming Friday or Saturday, but I will be streaming on Sunday or Monday. So if you want to hop back in with a list of things you think I'll agree with that Trump's doing, if you have like actual laws or whatever they want to pass, then bring them back and we'll see, okay? We'll see.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for the call. more chill
I
conversation.
appreciate
All
your
the kids in
input
chat
and
getting
your
bored.
perspective.
All right, appreciate you calling in, being willing to have a conversation. But Daddy Trump would never be able to talk about this. I think he'd just say like 2 words all the time, like "wow," "not true," "wow," like over and over again. I do appreciate
he's actually pretty well read from all available reports on. He's very particularly well read on history. He's a very, very big connoisseur of historical objects, historical practices, and again, this is from available reporting, non-mainstream media. But yeah, there are several people that have sat and had conversations with him that said that he's pretty well read on a lot of things.
Yeah,
So,
well, John Kelly said he talked about Hitler a lot, so I believe that.
I mean, there's a lot to be understood.
I think
about
Trump
the
respects
history
Hitler.
of
I think Trump definitely respects Hitler, 100%. If he respects Putin, he definitely respects Hitler.
I think there's a difference between respect and admiration.
Okay, well, do you think he admires Hitler, or he admires?
I don't
Putin?
think I don't think he admires Hitler. Let me put it to you this way: I can respect the tactics that Hitler utilized in his speeches, and the reason that I can respect that is because the tactics that he utilized are extremely
populist.
No, not populist. No, I'm not talking about the words that he said. I'm talking about the way that he delivered the speeches.
Fierce, passionate.
No, this is more of a psychological ingraining of ideas and understanding how to utilize those tactics. I can respect that he had a very, very good understanding of how to utilize tactics of human psychology against the people that he was speaking to. I can
Well,
respect
I mean, you could say that for any dictator. The social engineering they do is really impressive, but I think Trump has the same ability, and the same intentions.
Right, but that doesn't mean that I admire what
For power.
Hitler
I
did.
think Trump was the same. He has the same lust for power and same manipulative techniques to speak.
I think he has a very large ego, and he likes it to be stroked.
Yeah,
And-
but that can create really dangerous people if that's the only thing that drives them.
But what's to say that's the only thing that you can have? You can have something as a large driving factor, and not be the only thing that drives them.
Okay. Well, let's do this.
Monday.
I'm trying to think because
Monday.
okay, so if you bring a list of things, and this could be for myself too. Okay, so Monday, if you go on Discord, you could send me a message too if you have Discord, or whatever. But this could be good for me too. I can make a video titled Trump voter tries to convince me to be whatever, something like that. But yeah, that'll be a good little video.
I just offer this exercise. The exercise is to bring a list of whatever alternative talking points that you want, but also look into the things that you might have maybe 40 to 60% agreement on. Try and find those things, like actually seek those things out. That's to me, this is my exercise, right? This is my exercise, and let me see to what degree can we come to common ground and have a mutual understanding, and past that, where do I see that there are arguments that are incorrect? Where do I see that there are arguments that I'm incorrect on?
Well, I'll say this too. I think what you said about getting people to think something different. I think you sound more reasonable than your politics are going to be, because I think you are more reasonable than your politics are. But I think Trump presents himself in the same way that Bernie does as a populist. But I think Bernie's too far left for American politics. But regardless, they present themselves as populists, which is why everyone that calls into my show, a lot of them say they would have voted for Bernie and they voted for Trump. But you think Trump is doing things he's not actually doing. So my goal of my channel would be to show you that he's not doing those things, and also direct people towards politicians who do want to do those things. So that can be a fun conversation. And then if you keep watching my channel, then yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been watching your channel for months, but and I've talked to you on Discord previously.
Dope.
My goal is to prove you right. I want to agree with you on the things that you're saying. If I know information, or if I have information that is outside of things that you're stating, that is showing that you're not right, I'm going to call that out. If I have information that proves you right, that's what I'm pushing for.
Well, I think I should run for president, to be honest. I think I should run for Congress or something. If you think I sound like a moderate, I should definitely run for Congress then. I'd probably win.
Start local.
No, dude, you gotta go big, baby. Trump started with the presidency.
No, he didn't. he didn't.
Get me on the Apprentice, dude. Get me started.
That I'd watch. I would watch that. No, the reason that I say start local is because there's Nick Freitas had a quote in one of his shows, and he said there are people that are asking him, how I want to run for Congress, how can I go about doing that? And his response was, to what degree have you fought? If you haven't fought through the ridiculousness of government at your local level, if you haven't fought through the ridiculousness of
I've been involved in local politics enough to be a part of a lot of things. So if I'm wasting time running for something just to get in the news and have a good time, then I'll definitely do something big. I don't disagree. Like, getting local politics is a really great way to understand a lot of things about influence and dealing with people and that's where you have to negotiate. Like, local people on school boards and city councils and stuff, they do much harder jobs than U.S. representatives do. They're basically actors at that level. But at the local level, you really have to deal with budgets hands-on. Even state representatives do an actual real job. But our Congress people, they have people working for them doing the legislation. So, like, local politics is definitely a place to start. You got a lot more respect for what it takes to actually organize political movements and stuff. Okay, thank you for calling in. I'm gonna go eat food and go to bed, but I do appreciate it, and I'll chat with you again in a few days.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the $3. Bucky, thank you for $3. Also, on Cash App, thank you so much for the donation. Initials RQ. Thank you so much for the donation. $25 in Cash App. Thank you. Ugh. Thank you guys for watching and dropping a like and subscribing. I probably, once I get back from my travel this weekend, I have to travel a lot in the next month for work and stuff too. Yeah, drop a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Thank you for watching. There's boom and bust cycles in content creation, so people that watch my channel, don't get too caught up in every number for every stream and every video. Because I could look at every channel's analytics, and they have all slowed down this time of year, or like this media cycle. So like, I was growing at like 300 subscribers a day a little bit ago, maybe 500 certain days, but it's just gonna go up and down. Like, my numbers actually like go up and down every month. It really just depends on the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna focus more on I'm probably gonna focus a little bit harder on videos, on the video side of things. So if you can follow my other channel called, I have to switch around a few things about it. Crap. I might actually stream from this channel a couple times to get the subscribers up, to get to 1,000 subscribers. But here's my other channel. If you can go subscribe to that, that'd be awesome. I'm trying to get to 1,000 on this channel so I can monetize it, so I can post videos here as well, do more video reactions and that kind of stuff. So go to that channel and hit subscribe if you can. Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Everyone take your oxys. Yeah, take your oxys. Can't freshen that channel pic. Is that one better than the one I have for my regular channel? Should I switch out the pictures? Is that a better one than my Jolah Talks Politics one? Thank you for subscribing there. Is it better than Jolah Talks Politics, or is that one fine too? You like the logo for it? The logo? More professional. This one is less formal. So you're saying the other one's more professional. The one that I have on my second channel is more professional, but the one on my main channel is... The one on my main channel is less professional. Should I switch them out? I like the logo for the top two. It's a good contradiction, or not contradiction. It's a good deviation from my regular channel's cover letter. Or cover photo, whatever it's called. I kind of like the distinction. If I'm gonna do more professional content on this channel and then post videos on that one, or post like more commentary videos. I want to do commentary videos again, but I don't want my regular channel to be commentary videos. I want my regular channel to be like calls. But my calls are not gonna do that good because that's not the content that's like popping off right now. Who knows? I'm just kind of doing this. I like the channel name though for a second channel. I finally decided on it today. I need to do what I said before about doing the Asmongold reactions as a way to grow. So I'm gonna do a lot of those videos. Maybe I'll do some tonight before I leave on my trip. But yeah, thank you guys for all the support, all the channel memberships. Thank you for the donations, for the support every night. I'll keep on producing this content and stuff. It'll be nice. I'm gonna take an actual break from politics this weekend. Like I'm gonna log out of Twitter. I'm gonna log out of Twitter this weekend. Crazy development, but I'm gonna log out of Twitter. Why have more channels? Because I want my channel to be talking about politics here. I don't want I want my main channel to be real world topics. I do not want my main channel to be me reacting to Asmongold and Hassan and Destiny, okay? I want my regular channel to be actual politics conversations. And it'll be nice. It's also good to have more than one channel, too. Because if my main channel ever got banned for any reason, right? If my main channel ever gets banned, I have a backup channel. If I ever get a copyright strike or something, it's good to diversify. And I want to be monetized on that channel for if that happens. And I could hit I can also optimize both channels to hit different demographics. Cause like doing all the different content on this channel messes up my algorithm, like bad. And then my algorithm's all messed up and I can't like do the stuff I want to do. Shut up, Vanguard. Yeah, everyone take a break. That's one reason the engagement's going down too. People need breaks in between this stuff, in between it. But also it does have the effect that I said before, where you get like, it's like a drug that you get a tolerance to, where you're used to like, even, I mean, to be honest, I'm like down about numbers, but I literally on Monday of this week I had over 1,000. I got 300 subscribers on Monday. I had 1,300 viewers on my short stream. So it's like on a developing channel, it's gonna go up and down. What really matters is that I'm building up a base of you guys supporting my channel consistently, where you guys will be here every night, and then when like there's people that support my channel 100% that'll be here every night. Then there's gonna be people in the middle. And then there's going to be people that show up only when there's big things happening, when they want to like watch a debate or something or whatever. But I literally just had 1,300 viewers the other, like 4 nights ago. So it's not worth like overthinking, you know? It's not worth overthinking. The rap channel? The raps are hard, dude. I was trying to rap earlier today. It's hard, dude. The raps are the hardest content to make. Hardest content to make by far. Make sure you go to my post on my channel, by the way. If you go to my channel, go to posts. I put 25,000 subscribers Q&A. Drop your questions in the chat. Okay? On my posts on my channel. Go and put a question for my Q&A for 25,000 subscribers whenever I get that in a few weeks. Go drop some questions there. But yeah, thank you for all the memberships, all the support, all the donations. Really helpful. I agree. I do want to do podcasts. I do want to talk to people and do interviews and stuff. I want to do collaborations, but people just don't like, I don't know. Educational videos. I do messaging guides, but I don't have time to do videos. It's hard to manage. I don't know. And my channel going through this down period right now for even 4 days is already making me like, oh crap, I need to DoorDash more. Because I was saying before I could quit DoorDash and only do my job and this, but I need to see how consistent these numbers are. I would love doing messaging guides though. I'm at 9,600 on TikTok. I need 10,000 to get monetized on there. That'd be pretty cool. Thank you, Kit. Kit was just glazing. Kit said, Jolah is one of the few that'll admit he's wrong when proven. He has vast knowledge. Stick around and you'll see. Thank you, Kit. Chat just needs to listen and watch. 113 watching? See, but that's not even bad. Like, brother, I have been not doing content. I've had 300 people watching this consistently with both streams combined. And I'm like, oh, this is it's a down night. Woe is me. And it's like, bro, I don't even post consistent videos to this freaking channel. I let this channel die. I'll have week gaps in between posting videos. Like, that matters too, because if I don't post consistent videos, then my channel has less traffic. If my channel has less overall traffic, then I don't have people for the live streams as much. Then I'm going completely off of who finds my videos from the live stream feed. But if I have actual videos on my channel that people are watching, then people that stop by to watch that video will join the live streams and be able to see me talk. So I need to actually focus on everything. But yeah, I need a break too. Once I get this break from everything, I could write down some ideas and concepts and stuff, and a few days break from politics, guys. This guy has autism with ADHD, a common combination. True, LM. Thank you for noticing. Literally, all you care about is cash. You've said monetize 20 times in 15 minutes. Yes, I do care about cash, dumbass. You don't care about putting food on the table? You dumbass little piece of shit. No shit, dumbass. Of course I can't spend here on my ass for 8 hours a night talking to assholes like you and not get paid. You think I'm going to do this shit for free? I already do this shit for free in my daily life. I do this every day. Already. I'll go argue in Facebook comments if I want to fight for free with people and make content and videos. Of course I want ad revenue and shit. Dumbass. Horizontal is chill. If this channel ever gets really big, I'll make horizontal members only. We'll see. I don't know how this shit works. Alright. I'm gonna hop in Discord and chat for a little bit if you want to join Discord. Sri, thank you for $5. Sri, Oxy. Oh, we love Oxy. Oxy's so cute. So now they're against the free market. Exactly. Now they're against the free market. Now they could talk about making money's bad. Yeah, great. All right, I need some people to collab with because Pisco hates me. Let me see. I'll have to get a list of people to collab with, dude. Maybe I'll just like go on a bunch of small channels, like super small, like I don't know, like a couple hundred subscribers. Interesting. Pay for fake callers. Which chat will you be on? I look at both back and forth as much as I can. Your nose gets bigger every time I see you. You're like the real life Pinocchio. Thank you, Chris. Don't give this douche money. Thank you. Lefty libs. Haha. Thank you. Yeah, with a real job, Random Factory. Yeah, I do have a real job, dumbass. I know you're against people that actually work for a living because you support Daddy Trump, but you can not be cringe. You ever think about not being cringe? That'd be a cool idea you can try. I wonder how many real channel members I have. Considering a lot of the channel members are gifted subs. Why does it say my freaking my channel says I have a lot of rock music fans? All right, I'm going to bed, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.
Shout out to everybody. I want to talk to y'all real quick. Wait. Yo, shout out to everybody. Trump ain't hit the super chat or some stop. I know y'all used to trying to get everything.
Most of the people that watch my channel watch.
Shout out to everybody. I want to talk to y'all real quick.
I'm looking at people that watch other creators. It's all Trump fans. Here's a KRS-One hip hop channel. Media, here's a reaction channel that people watch. The Dems have lost their mind. That might be ruining my feed, dude. All of the comparable videos to my channel, all of the videos that the people that view my channel watch are from like super far right channels. Like literally it's all bro, it's all black Trump channels. It's all black Trump supporter channels. It's all black Trump supporters. Bro. Oh, it's killing my algorithm, dude. It's all black Trump supporters. You're a conservative and you love my show? You're not a conservative. You're a Jolah. All right, guys, have a good night. See you guys. Oh, lady. Thank you guys for the donations. If you want to donate, remember, Jolah Politics on Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, or on Coffee. Thank you guys for the support. Have a good night. See you guys on Sunday. If you want updates on everything, go to my Discord. Join Discord, guys. Join Discord. Join Discord. Yeah, the word Trump. Thank you guys, channel members. I love seeing the green. I love seeing the green in chat. See you guys Sunday. Goodbye. Have a good night. Thank you again.